Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel, and we are back working on our outline. And as you can see from my document here, we are working on our vampire main character Vigo, and we've already outlined his arc through the entire series. So this is going to be encompassing 3.5 books when he has an alternating point of view with our shapeshifter main character Clay in the final book. So what we have here so far, we have Vigo fighting for survival, first for himself and for all of vampire kind, against the shapeshifters who have the ability to kill vampires in a way that no one else does. He has a confrontation with Clay, in which Clay is completely incapable of defending himself, and Vigo sees this, and in typical vampire fashion, he sets out to play a game of cat and mouse with Clay. And then through this process, they start to get to know each other, and he starts to understand Clay a little bit more and his situation. And through this process and repeated dangers, and with Clay getting better at using his abilities and understanding his strengths and weaknesses, Vigo reconnects with the preciousness of life, and he has a crisis of faith when he realizes that he actually is immortal. And through the process of his interaction with Clay, he embraces his mortality and starts to enjoy it and appreciate it in a way that he didn't before. And through this, he develops a deeper connection with Clay. And at the end, they have another confrontation where Clay is able to hold his own, and he wins the fight, and Vigo barely escapes with his life. And this inevitably sets them up for the final confrontation that is going to be the epic finale of Book 7. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start dropping these up here into our outline. So Vigo is having books 2, 4, and 6. Okay, so here we're going to come down here, and I'm going to put the cat and mouse, everything up to the cat and mouse stage in book 2. So let's put that up here. And then the getting to know you portion, and all the way up to the deeper connection. Actually, let's change that. From the getting to know you portion of the book up to the crisis of faith, where he realizes that he's mortal. That's going to go in book 4. Oops. And everything else is going to go in books 6 through 7. So let's go with the deeper connection, and where he actually loses to Clay will go in book 6. And we already have the epic confrontation in book 7. Okay, so that's Vigo taken care of. And while I was organizing all of this, I also realized that we needed another layer of depth when it comes to Clay himself. So most of what's going on with Clay at the moment is pretty superficial. He's already having an identity crisis where he discovers that he's a shapeshifter, and he has to figure out what he's going to do about that. But there's another layer of identity that he has to grapple with, which is sort of, it's a process where when he takes on the shape of another person, for example, he actually develops a different personality, where his identity itself starts to morph each time he changes, and that's something else that he has to deal with. So let's have a look here. Here we go. And then and that's going to come about here with the where he's training with his new abilities, and he actually discovers that his identity is as plastic and malleable as the rest of him. And that when he takes on a new appearance, his personality and identity changes as well. And he actually has to go to a deeper level where he has to actually figure out who he is and how he's different from all of these shapes and appearances. And that could take quite a while. So that could span both what do we got here? Books 3 and 5. Actually, we don't have anything here for book 5, so we'll put it there for the moment. And that could be most of what happens in book 5. And all of this is in flux. We're going to change it around as we go. So down here we have our human characters who are going to be caught in this war between supernatural creatures. We've got the female love interests of both species, the vampire love interest who's going to be Vigo's partner. We've got the shapeshifter love interest, and we've got Clay's human girlfriend. That relationship is going to end in book 1. So let's put that up there. Oh, and the other thing we're going to think about is all of these characters are going to be going through the same process, which is shock horror when they realize the situation that they're in. And that's going to translate into them treating these paranormal creatures, or whatever you want to call them, as their enemies. And then from there, these people are going to learn more about the people that they consider their enemies. And that is going to lead to an internal conflict where these people don't know whether or not the person is their enemy at all. And they have to figure that out and then eventually come to a conclusion that is going to bring them all together in the final epic finale. So all of these people are going to be going through the same thing. So here we have, oops. Okay, so all of these characters are going to be going through the same 5 steps. And originally, I had planned for the human characters to be police officers who originally see and get tangled up with the vampires and the shapeshifters in the opening fight sequence. So I'm going to copy that up to book 1. And that's going to be probably, why don't we go ahead and put chapter 1. And then we have exactly the same process with the female love interests of both species and with Clay's girlfriend. And that is going to happen in book 1. And we're going to move that up here because it happens before he gets mixed up with the shapeshifters. That's going to happen later. And the vampire love interest is going to be happening in Clay's book and Vigo's books. And the shapeshifter female lead is going to be happening in Clay's books. So as you can see, all of this is forming what is going to be our outline. The timeline is already starting to take shape. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and I'm going to split these up so that each of these is divided throughout the entire outline. So the human characters, the shock, horror, and the enemies, that's going to happen in book 1. The getting to know you is going to be spaced out, let's call it throughout the books. And then, Clay's female love interest, she's going to start out as his enemy in the first book. Book 3, they're going to start to get to know each other a bit better. Book 5, they're allies. Same with Vigo. Book 2, there's a conflict when he's supposed to be the vampire leader and he starts to identify with the enemy. Book 3, he has to grapple with his situation and figure it out. I'm sorry, in book 5, and then later on, that gets resolved and they all come together aligned on both sides for the epic finale. So I hope this is all starting to make sense. We've got our chronological timeline here, and next we're going to start filling in the blanks with individual chapters, fleshing out what happens to these people and when. So I'll see you next week for that, and if any of you have any questions about this, feel free to get in touch with me either in the comments or on the contact page of my website. Okay, bye.